any way that I can get some sort of data, some way that I can make more informed marketing decisions, I jump at that chance because we do have a limited budget and limited resources. So I don't have the dollars to go out and do a really fun, just experimental campaign. I have to kind of go back and look at numbers and decide, what's the best move to make. So that's how we got to that point.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the Destination Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Stoker, along with my co-host, Jordan Barker.
Hey, everybody.
And we're excited to be here today. We've got a special guest that we're excited to bring on and chat a little bit with. We've got Hope Stokes, and she is from Amarillo, Texas, a unique destination, and we're excited to learn more about it. Hope, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Happy to be here.
Great. Well, we're happy to have you. Tell me, first of all, we have a question that we ask everybody just to kind of break the ice. Tell me your dream destination. It's a tourism marketing podcast, so we got to talk about travel. If you could go anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Probably Florence, Italy. I studied abroad when I was younger and fell in love with that city. And so I'd probably go there, but the Italians don't really like to let people in to stay. So
Well, Florence, Italy. I tell you that I haven't been to Italy. I would love to go to Europe.
Me too.
For some reason, Europe for me, it's on the list, but it keeps getting bumped down by tropical destinations. I think, and Alaska. I think those two just keep kind of pushing it down the list. But I definitely someday would love to go explore Europe, and especially Italy as a part of that.
What about, Hope, is there anywhere that you've actually been that is one of your favorite destinations where maybe you keep going back to it, or do you have a favorite spot?
So Florence is definitely one of those. I also love Barcelona a lot. I like to switch on and off each year from a tropical destination to a European destination.
Oh, there you go.
To branch out into Asia soon enough. But those two places I've actually been that I love, and I could live there and be happy.
Well, I tell you, the idea of alternating between the two is pretty good. With kids, it's been difficult to even do one a year, but do you have kids, Hope?
I do not. My boyfriend and I, we like to travel a lot, and we are being selfish while we're younger. So we actually don't purchase each other gifts at all throughout the year. So we don't do Christmas. We don't do Valentine's Day or anything. We just save all of our money and go on a vacation each year together.
That's so smart.
You are
so
truly
smart.
dedicated to the tourism industry.
That's awesome.
I am, yes. When I found out I could do it for a living, I was like, oh my gosh, this is meant to be.
Well, tell me a little bit about that. Tell me about you getting into tourism and what brought you to the industry and what it's been like so far.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting. I wanted to be a dentist growing up my entire life. That's what I thought I was going to do. And I ended up graduating a little bit early from high school. And my final project was to kind of head up and finish up this app that different students had been working on throughout the years. And the app was basically, it's called Amarillo, Where to Eat, Sleep, and Play. And it was an itinerary building app for Amarillo. And once it got published, I believe it was the first fully student-developed app to get published on the Google Play Store and the Apple Store. So when that got published, the Convention and Visitor Council here got a hold of me and were like, what you did is what we do for a living. So I interned, and then the rest is kind of history.
Wow. So how long ago was that, if you don't mind me asking? How long have you been in the tourism space?
Is this an indirect age question here?
No, because she could have she started young. She mentioned high school, right? So yeah, she's not going to give away anything that she shouldn't.
No, that's fine. I'm still at an age where I don't mind sharing my age. It's been 6 years. So I actually started my professional career before I started college. So it's very interesting that I have more professional experience than I do student experience. It's a little backwards.
Well, and we see a lot of, transitions from dentist to tourism. And so,
pretty common
a natural path for you,
right? Of course, exactly.
Tell us a little bit about your destination itself. So if there's people that are listening that might not be as familiar with Amarillo, can you give us kind of an overview of maybe some of the main attractions? And, we'll kind of get into some of the challenges and things like that. But if you want to kind of touch on your areas of focus and maybe even some of the challenges that go along with marketing Amarillo. That would be great.
Yeah, so I'll start off with where we're located in Texas. We're at the Panhandle, so at the top of Texas. We are the only major city in Texas that Route 66 runs through, so that gives you a little bit of an idea. We have the second largest canyon in the United States next to the Grand Canyon, but it is the largest drivable canyon, so I like to go with that one.
Okay.
We're very Western focused, but we are, modern as well. When I explain how Amarillo is to people, I like to explain it as the real West. Like, we don't have hokey, weird cowtown things you can do. We literally have people that go out on the ranch, make their living, work their cattle, work their horses, and then come back, put a suit on, and then go to the symphony at night. So we have an issue with travelers. One of our challenges is that travelers come expecting to see all the hokey cowtown stuff and be able to really get down and dirty with things, but we're genuinely, truly a Western city. People are doing this for a living. We don't have anything fake. There are some opportunities where you can go to different ranches and literally work with the ranchers. So that's interesting. But yeah, we're a true Western town, but we also have a thriving downtown, an amazing art scene. So we really are a great example of how Western towns in Texas have developed into what they are today. So yeah.
I've learned a little bit about Amarillo, mostly because my parents actually used to live in Lubbock, Texas, and their favorite kind of staycation, if you want to call it that, was in Amarillo. And so they would go to Amarillo. They love, actually, there's a steakhouse there that they just love. And they went several times during the time that they lived in Lubbock. And so I would always hear about their vacations, and it sounds like a great destination that, it's Texas is huge, right? Everything is 6 hours away in Texas if you're driving, right? And so it's somewhat, kind of isolated as far as Amarillo goes, but you get people that come from a lot of different areas of both the country and outside of the country. Tell us a little bit about the main geographic locations that people come from to vacation in Amarillo.
Yeah, so our biggest target is actually Dallas-Fort Worth area. So it's funny, Texas is so huge. A lot of our audience, a lot of our visitors are straight up from Texas itself. We have quite a few Californians that come through, some New Mexico, Colorado traffic, but really our biggest audience is from Dallas-Fort Worth, and then you start getting into San Antonio and Austin and places like that.
Interesting. And does the state of Texas have a co-op program where they do like matching dollar for dollar of some sort to augment your advertising activities?
No, they do not. In Texas, we have issues with tourism funding. It got taken away for a little bit, but during this session, they got all their funding back. So currently, we don't have anything where the state will match your dollars or anything like that.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. We ask people that question because here in Utah, they have a matching program where they really try to augment the out-of-state dollars. So if a destination is advertising out of state, and so let's call it Southern California, for example, the state will match those dollar for dollar. And so it's always interesting when somebody has most of their visitor traffic coming from in-state. I like to ask the co-op question because it's like, man, it's a tough decision. Do I take the dollar for dollar match, or do I market to, my largest audience that's here in state?
Right. Yeah, that would be nice. I would love that. Let's call the governor and make that happen.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
Well, before we've got a couple of tactical questions for you, but just so that our listeners can understand the situation you're in, tell us a little bit about the structure of your team within your office.
Right. So there are 10 people on the CDC side. We have a marketing department, a tourism department, a sales department, a servicing department, and then administration. So within my department, it is me and a lucky part-timer, which is typically an intern, so they rotate in and out. So I am a lot of times a one-man show, except for like every 4 months I get a new intern, which is always fun. And then our servicing is 2 people. Our sales is 2 people, and then tourism is 3 people. And then Dan Quant, our vice president. So, yes, that's a little bit of how we're structured.
Nice. I think, it's interesting. We talk to CVBs, or, I guess in your case, it's a council, but we talk to CVBs and destinations of all different shapes and sizes, right? I think one of the things that a lot of the individuals that we speak with, they're in similar situations where they have to be really scrappy. They've got a small team, they don't have a ton of resources. And so that's one thing that we want to dive a little bit deeper in today, specifically when it comes to tracking effectiveness of your marketing dollars. Typically, you go to these trade shows, you go to these tourism events, and you hear about different attribution platforms or different marketing technologies that will help you track the effectiveness of your dollars. And a lot of times, those are a little out of reach for some of the smaller destinations. So I want to dive a little bit deeper. I know that you're currently using Adara. For those that might be listening to the podcast that don't understand why a destination would be using Adara, do you mind giving us a little background on how you're currently using the platform and how it helps inform your marketing decisions? And we can maybe go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So Adara and how it works really, it's I generate Adara pixels and I connect them to every single ad that I have. And basically, Adara uses first-party data to track when an ad, to collect an audience basically, and then when an ad has been delivered to that audience, they track that pixel to the point that they come in market. So they have a lot of partnerships with like loyalty programs, airlines, things like that. So when someone comes in and they're on that loyalty program, they will get counted as a visitor in Amarillo. So there's always been a challenge in the tourism industry with how to prove your marketing is actually working. This is a way I can go to the board and say, hey, this person looked at this ad and then they came into market 14 days later and they're valued at this much because we, put a dollar amount on different people. So we can kind of get an idea of how well our marketing is working. Of course, you have to take that with a bit of a grain of salt because it is possible that someone viewed that ad and came into market, but they were already planning to come here, that the ad didn't do it. But still, just the fact that you can prove that, hey, these 20 people looked at our ad and then they came into market and show that to your board, it makes them a lot happier than me saying, hey, we did this ad program or this marketing campaign, and I think it worked because more people came, but I can't really prove that it was that campaign. So that kind of fills that gap that a lot of people have trouble with.
That makes a lot of sense. So again, one of the big challenges, and you hit on it, in tourism is you have the destination, the DMO or the CVB that's actually running and spending marketing dollars or running the marketing campaigns, right? And then you have the hotels and the local businesses that are actually collecting that revenue. So you've got this giant gap in trying to report back on marketing spend effectiveness. And so, like you mentioned, Adara, great solution. We've talked about Arrivalist on the program and others. Tell me a little bit about what ultimately led you to the decision that it was time for us, or was this solution already in place when you got to the office, or was this something that you decided it's time that we level up our sophistication a little bit and we need better tracking, better visibility?
Yeah, no, that was a joint decision between Dan and I. Dan will help me a lot in the marketing area. And
who's Dan, just so that we help our listeners on that?
Yeah, Dan Quant is the vice president of the CVB.
Okay.
He oversees the entire CVB. But yeah, we both have this obsession with data. And so anytime we do anything, we want to make an informed decision. It's never a good idea in marketing to be like, I like this. This is pretty. This is good. Let's do it. You need to have some sort of data backing it up. And once Adara came around, they got a hold of us. We were like, oh my gosh, we've been looking for a way to attribute visitors from our ads. So it made a lot of sense. And yeah, any way that I can get some sort of data, some way that I can make more informed marketing decisions, I jump at that chance because we do have a limited budget and limited resources. So I don't have the dollars to go out and do a really fun, just experimental campaign. I have to kind of go back and look at numbers and decide, what's the best move to make. So that's how we got to that point.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point that with a limited budget, every dollar is so valuable, right? And I love the fact that you're using Adara. One of the balances that I think a lot of our listeners are struggling with a little bit is, I don't have a lot of money. Some of these software tools or technologies that are available in the industry are either cost prohibitive or very expensive or a large portion of my budget. So how do you decide? For example, I know Adara is actually a fairly expensive software tool, but if you look at the ability to track the results, maybe it's not that expensive, right? But how do you balance the cost of a tool like Adara with the size of your budget? I think that would be really good for a lot of our listeners to understand.
Yeah, I definitely understand why that makes people nervous, because you're right. These type of softwares are pretty pricey, and it can be intimidating to, sign that dotted line to, make the leap towards going more, in that direction. But really, for me, it was pretty easy because I now, with Adara, I can make better informed decisions. So even though I'm not putting as much money into just the straight marketing itself, the money I am putting towards that marketing has more value because I know that it's working. I can prove to my board. I think that also is a huge selling point. A lot of people in the CVBs have issues with their boards not even understanding what they do fully and totally, much less understanding how they're producing results. So this is a very clear way to show your board it's working, to prove that, or help you decide if you need to tweak a campaign or different things like that. So I think it's definitely worth putting more money towards data and programs like Adara, so that even though you're taking away from your marketing, you're actually optimizing it and making that money worth more. Does that make sense?
Great point. Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. And for some of our listeners, I'm going to ask you a question that could probably be perceived as maybe a little bit invasive, but remember, we're trying to help really our listeners understand a way forward. Do you have like a specific percentage of your budget that you spend on technology tools? Like, have you designated it that way, or how do you calculate what that breaking point is of whether or not I can purchase a technology tool for our destination?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say we're probably sitting, and this is a rough guesstimate, we're probably sitting about 35, almost 40% just in tracking and data collection. Pretty much we will look at it and see, is there a way we can get this for free? Thank God for Google Analytics, because they just give you so much that they don't have to, but they're kind to do that. But if we see an area where we think we have a blind spot that we're not collecting information on, we fill it, like period. Because we feel like if we can have more information from that area, we can optimize in our marketing campaigns. So we're really big on sacrificing some marketing dollars for some additional data collection software, because, like I said, it just really stretches that marketing dollar even further.
Yeah, I really like that. I think sometimes, as a marketer, you want to do things and you want to move quickly, right? And so I think sometimes the challenge with that mentality is, well, we want to allocate a large chunk of our budget, and rightfully so, to doing things that will help drive additional visitation. And I think that makes a lot of sense. I love hearing that it's also, that balance of trying to figure out, how do we make sure that we have a good framework where we can actually report on the effectiveness of our marketing dollars? So I really like that. Along those lines, I want to ask you a question, though. There's some listeners that are probably, they wear multiple hats, right? And I'm sure that you can probably relate to this too. And if you're not super comfortable with data, sometimes the thought of having a platform like Adara might be a bit intimidating. Can you talk to maybe, the level of sophistication that a destination marketer needs to have in order for them to be able to understand the data? Is it fairly intuitive once you get into the platform, or maybe you can speak to that?
Yeah, great question. I can see how it can definitely be intimidating. But once you get in the platform, it's very intuitive. It's broken down very simply. You have your dashboard. It's very straightforward. You also have an account manager that will help explain things or break things down for you if you need it. But honestly, they've done a really good job of laying the dashboard out and making it easy. One of my favorite things about Adara is I get to seem like I'm a lot smarter than I am sometimes, it seems like, because I'm going to go, get all these pixels, develop all these pixels, when literally all it is me putting a name, like naming the pixel and pushing generate and copying it and pasting it, and just attaching it to the ad. So it's not a long, intense process at all. And, you talk about attaching pixels to things, and I think people's minds explode when they really shouldn't. It is literally a click of a button just to generate it, and then you copy it, paste it, and you can send it to your agency or do it yourself, but it's fairly simple, very user-friendly.
Awesome. So you don't have to be a web developer to use that technology, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely not.
So Hope, you've mentioned Adara, and you've talked about the way that helps drive your decision making within your destination. And I really appreciate you talking about it, because for a lot of small destinations, I think Adara is a little bit intimidating, and great to hear that a small destination is still able to leverage it and also willing to make that investment because of the importance of the data that you get. Are there any other technology tools that you're using within your destination that are helping you make your decisions in a better way that might benefit our listeners from hearing?
Yeah, there definitely are. One of the bigger ones that we work with as well is like Meltwater. They're wonderful. They do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they have a ton of different tools that they offer. We do a lot of media listening, just for media alerts. Anytime someone talks about Amarillo or mentions us, we get alerts for that. I also do a lot of our email marketing through Meltwater, strictly because the data that they give you back on it is amazing and pretty in depth. So I can always keep a track on, hey, maybe this email worked better than the other, things like that.
Tell me a little more about that, because I don't think there's a lot of destinations that use Meltwater that necessarily leverage it for their email campaigns. I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so I use it for smaller campaigns. My level where I'm at, essentially, I can only send to 1,000 people a day, which is pretty small. So our main primary newsletters go out through different services, but I really use it for if I'm speaking to the media. So anytime I send out a release, I will track that, or if I have a smaller group of people that's under 1,000, obviously I'll send that out. But you can see, pretty basic things like click-through rate, open rate, different things like that. But it will also show you how much time they spent on it. But it gives you generic things, but then it also just dives a little bit deeper into it. So you can definitely, and I compare. So I'll only send similar emails out. So I'll make a small tweak to one and I'll compare the numbers. And if that update worked, then I will keep using that. So I almost A/B test using it with email.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting tactic, but it's really worked. And I've kind of got it down to a fine science of what different audiences like in emails. So it's really interesting. I wish that I could bump it up one more notch and make it my primary emailing system. But the other products I see a little bit more value in. So I kind of stick to the basic with that.
Hope, I think there's a lot of destinations that are listening that are like you, that may have a limited budget, maybe a little bit smaller, and are just kind of scrappy and trying to use things in different ways that benefit the destination. Is there any advice or any suggestion or anything else that you're using that you feel like would benefit our audience to learn from? What have you seen that you feel like could benefit small destinations?
Yeah, so like you mentioned previously, when you start getting into these bigger data softwares, they do get very pricey. My first thing I would say is, if you can make it happen, make it happen. I mean, just take that leap, cut a little bit out of your direct spending and spend it on data. I think it's definitely worth it. And just take full advantage of the free data you get. I mean, people don't do that enough. Go into Google Analytics, really dive in there, see what you can do. You can create your own pixels. You can start tracking conversions. Watch some webinars and learn how to use the parts of that software you're intimidated by. I mean, even with social media, they all allow you a certain amount of data and different things like that. So dive into those platforms, look at the dashboards, start tracking it, look for trends, different things like that. It does become overwhelming very quickly when you look at data, but I think a good start is to start really utilizing the free data that you have available to you. And a lot of times people aren't even aware of some of it, but just a simple Google search will pull up a lot of things that you can be using. But definitely the biggest one is Google Analytics. And don't just click on that audience tab, like dive in a little bit deeper past that point, and you'll find a lot of gems in there that you didn't know about probably.
Great advice. Thank you, Hope. Jordan, is it safe to say that this is probably one of your favorite episodes ever, since we're talking data
Well,
and
look,
analytics?
on the last podcast that you and I did, you were calling me out for being a nerd. So is this like you baiting me? Is that what this is?
Look, I don't want to be the one that says it every time.
Got it. That's fair. Yeah, and I think we're big fans of data here, obviously, at Relic. And so I think it's love to always hear how people are using data, how they're consuming data, and how they're actioning data. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed the conversation today. So thanks so much for that, Hope. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love talking about data anytime I can. So thanks for the opportunity. I'm a nerd too. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, Hope, it's been great to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
This has been the Destination Marketing Podcast with Adam Stoker and Jordan Barker. We want to remind all of our listeners to go check out the LinkedIn group Destination Marketers on LinkedIn. And we've also just created the Facebook group Destination Marketers on Facebook. Join each of those forums. That's where we're sharing information. We're kind of growing together as a group. We've got a lot of people asking questions. And eventually we want to get to the point where we source the topics of these podcast episodes from those groups, from those conversations. So come share what you've learned. Ask for help, and let's all help each other get better together as marketers. Thanks again, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.